Is it bad to compare ourselves to other people? As human beings, it's constantly within our nature to compare every aspect of our lives to anything and everything, from our accomplishments to our greatest insecurities. You're probably comparing yourself right now to little Timmy from down the street. Like, why does he have a G-Wagon? He's 12 years old. Why don't I have a G-Wagon? I hope his parents have an affair. These types of comparisons are often extremely toxic and tend to limit our individuality, so we often want to replicate what's popular and avoid getting ratioed on Twitter by someone with an NBA YoungBoy profile pic. So, is it bad to compare musicians? If you're short for time, the answer is yes, but no. Let me explain why using the example of one of my favorite niche artists. I hope you can keep up, as I'm going to be hitting you with some straight truths about Frank Ocean here in a second, so just stay tuned.
I'm not kidding, man. You should check it out. I'm not kidding.
Now, you'd probably know this artist if you hang out at the smoker's pit with the cool kids at lunch, okay? The types that are vaping in the bathroom between classes. I'm talking about the mustard man himself, Dijon. Now, I have a special place in my heart for Dijon. I shook his hand once after a concert, and the world was never really the same afterwards. Literally, because the pandemic started like a month after the show. Truly groundbreaking stuff. To give some background, Dijon is most known for his song Skin that released back in 2018, that has amassed well over 80 million streams on Spotify. As well, his debut album, titled Absolutely, which is my answer for whether or not this video was good or not, but was also released in 2021. Please laugh at my jokes. Currently, Dijon holds around 2.1 million monthly listeners, and a cult-like following on social media, including myself, considering I haven't washed my hand since he shook it. These kinds of numbers are indicative of a mid-ranged artist that is on the cusp of hitting the big leagues. So why hasn't Dijon taken this next step thus far? And what does this video have to do with comparisons? Or Frank Ocean? Well, whenever I've tried to play Dijon for someone for the first time, they always say something basic like, "Whoa, is this Frank Ocean?" Or, "Oh wow, he sounds just like Frank Ocean." So there's your answer. Many people compare Dijon to Frank Ocean. Now, there are obviously some clear inspirations being taken by Dijon from Frank, as seen from the joking remarks Dijon makes in both interviews and also on his Instagram page, but to boil down his music to such a comparison puts Dijon in a really unfair position. It's like if you were to compare me to Liam Hemsworth. Obviously, we are both outstandingly attractive people, but I'm so much more than that. I'm also egotistical. What I mean is that these sorts of comparisons don't allow for small nuances or reflection of diverse personalities. You've decided he's a Frank Ocean clone, and so that description exemplifies the amount of credit and attention you're probably going to give him. I think this is why we see so many talented artists hit the ceiling and then start to stagnate due to the names that they're being compared to. Imagine being compared to a megastar at the very beginning of your career, whilst trying to gain recognition as an individual and for your own music. It puts you under immense pressure almost immediately to be able to perform at not the standard of similar artists at your level, but of ones much higher up than you with much more access to resources and experience. Not to mention the impossible requirements that are now created to be able just to be recognized as your own distinct person, and not just a fan or a copycat. If you're going to compare two people on a very similar playing field, like J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, shameless plug, then go for it. I don't see the harm in that or your ability to stunt either of their growth. In fact, sometimes comparing two people that are on the same playing field will help you to be able to identify the nuance and difference that each individual has. But many people are under this impression that it's somehow a compliment to compare a smaller artist to a bigger artist. But really all you're doing is simplifying and stripping away their identity, which is one of the most horrible things you can do to any creative in any field. This narrative needs to change so that talented artists, much like Dijon, can grow and evolve into their own person, so they aren't considered the knockoff or Walmart versions of much bigger and established artists. Dijon, to me, is one of the most emotional songwriters and singers that I've ever heard on recording. He's even better in person. The level of passion he has is clearly seen throughout all his work and is unlike any other artist that I've heard before. If that sounds interesting to you, I urge you to give him a serious listen. I don't mean you just picking his most popular song and then moving on. I mean, listen to different snippets and see what you like. For now, don't compare rookies to all-stars, don't compare Dijon to Frank Ocean, and don't compare yourself to people who you think are better than you. You're doing just fine.
I was kidding. You weren't kidding. You said right after, you said, "I'm not kidding." I was kidding.